Alright, so we got a fun one here. So it's Jai Herbert versus Renato Moicano. Jai Herbert, he's got a 2-inch height advantage and a 5-inch reach advantage. He's got a good frame for the division. He's very long. And for Moicano, he's on a bit of a slump. He's 1-3 in his last 4. He has faced very solid competition though. I think Fiziev, Aldo, and Zombie are his last 3. So they're, solid fighters. So no shame in losing to those guys. They're elite, but he is on a bit of a slump and it has to be mentioned. So the striking for these two, so Jai Herbert, he's very light in his feet. He's constantly fading. He likes to pot shot with the jab to set up his right cross. And basically, everything is coming down the pipe. It's either going to be the one or the two. He's pot shotting with the jab just to set up the right hand. He throws a lot of jabs. I think his style is probably good for his physical attributes and, what he just has to work with. Because he has good movement and he likes to use his length with the jab and the 2. So, fair play to him. But, the majority of his offense is the 1-2 and the 1-1-2 or, variations of that. And for Moicano, he has that Muay Thai style. He stands very tall and he can just kind of leave his chin in the air when he's defending strikes. And I feel like he's going to be leaning back a lot when Jai Herbert just keeps pumping out the jab. And it is kind of dangerous. Because Jai Herbert, he does have a bit of pop or a bit of snap. He has fast hands, so, you got to watch out for that when you're just leaning back with the chin in the air every time he pops the jab out. But Moicano, he does have very nice low calf kicks, and I think he could use that to slow the movement of Jai Herbert, and that would just make Jai Herbert much more easier to deal with. Moicano has a nice 1-2 as well, but I just wouldn't advise him to get in a boxing match with Herbert because that's kind of leaving the door open for Herbert to find his way into the fight. But where I do believe he has a big advantage is the grappling. And when you get Jai Herbert close to the fence, or if you, push him or feint him back to the fence, his guard will drop. I've seen him get caught on the fence a few times, and you take away the movement of Jai Herbert when you, cut the cage off and you get him trapped against the cage. And that, makes it much easier to deal with. And I think Moicano is going to look for that. He's going to look for that body lock takedown and then look for the outside leg trip from there, get him down, try and take his back when Jai Herbert gets up because Jai Herbert does give his back to get up. And I think he can just dominate him on the mat, honestly, because Jai Herbert, what I've seen from him, his guard is very easily passed. Doesn't seem like he has too much off his back, a few triangles or whatever, but, it's going to be easy for Moicano to pass that guard if you're putting up some lazy triangles. And how these guys win fights is Moicano's got very good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and he's well-rounded. And for Jai Herbert, he's got a good frame for the division. How these guys lose fights, so for Jai Herbert, I think he has poor takedown defense. I think he has poor get-ups. I think his chin seems a little weak too. But so same with Moicano. I feel like Jai Herbert, it's more to the weight cut. He's quite a big frame for the division. Doesn't have too much muscle or whatever, but he just looks like he would struggle to make the weight. And he's just, he probably should be fighting at welterweight. I think he's kind of a tweener, should be in between. But unfortunately there isn't a weight class for that. I think that's more the issue with Jai Herbert's chin. With Moicano, I think he just takes too many shots. Like his striking defense isn't great, and striking tendencies we talked about before, leans back with his chin in the air. I think his chin is better than Herbert's, but it's still a little weak and it's taken a fair bit of damage in his career so far. Past the victory for these two, so for Jai Herbert, look to keep it on the feet, look to use a lot of movement, look to extend your combinations when he's covering up. You saw Jose Aldo have great success with that, started punching the body when Moicano was covering up, because if you start teeing off on him, he doesn't generally fire back. Well, he'll fire back with a big right hook, but, it's very telegraphed. You can slip that and then, look for combinations again. But, if you get him on the back foot, if you start really putting the pressure on this guy, you could start putting combinations together and really start winning the optics in the judge's eyes, or maybe even get a finish in the ref's eyes if he thinks, it's worth to step in. Also, just don't clinch at all, don't engage in the grappling. And for Moicano, I think it's to wrestle. I think you can win on the feet for sure, but I think it's just wrestle him, take him down, and work from there. Also on the feet, look for low calf kicks and look to pressure him against the fence. How I see the fight going, I think Moicano could absolutely win on the feet, but it's not where he has the biggest advantage, and it's not where I would advise him to fight. I think he's at ATT, so he has if he has Mike Brown in his corner, or Bahumpa, or whatever his name is, or the other Brazilian guy, the bit Conan, then I feel like, yeah, they'll go in with the correct game plan. But sometimes he seems to, stand and bang too much. But I feel like if you were to bet Moicano, it just depends on how much you trust this guy to go for takedowns, in my opinion, because if he grapples, he's going to look minus 600 to like minus 1,000. But if he stands and bangs, he's likely not going to represent his money line. He's probably going to get in a fairly close fight, and it's just not going to be what you want. He wrestled immediately versus Hadzovic, but he stood with Aldo and Fiziev for far too long. Like, he attempted like one takedown, didn't even try and chain wrestle, and he, paid dearly for it. And I think Fiziev's speed did give Moicano a lot of issues in their fight. Fiziev's super quick. But I still think Jai Herbert has the speed advantage over Moicano, which could give him a little bit of trouble. Obviously not the level of speed of Fiziev, but he's quicker than Moicano. And the thing with Herbert, though, is that he's just so limited with his combinations that he throws. Like, it's either a 1-2 or 1-1-2, or just a jab, or just a straight right. So I feel like Moicano, if he wants to, he could get the read of that fairly quickly, and then slip the jab, get a takedown, and just the fight's basically over if Moicano gets top control, in my opinion, or if he gets on top. If he gets his back, it's over, in my opinion. But it's just, how much do you trust this guy to go for these takedowns? So the prediction is Moicano. I think he submits him in round 1 if he wants to. I think he should be favoured 75% of the time, and that's just based on skill for skill and how I feel like it should play out. But yeah, it just basically depends on if this guy wants to take him down or not. So yeah, I think the money line is correct. I think maybe there's a tiny bit of value on Moicano, but it's just how much you trust this guy. I might even look to put him as a parlay piece with another lock that I think on the card, parlaying him small with Barcelos. But yeah, it's just how much you trust this guy. And I think he will wrestle. I think he will take him down eventually, maybe after getting clipped on the feet. But yeah, he's going to go for a takedown eventually, hopefully. Another bet I was looking at was fight doesn't go the distance. Don't know why the screen's changing so much. Have to use this website now, which is fightodds.io, because Best Fight Odds just did something weird with their website. Just put up all these random bookies, which no one even uses that I know. But yeah, so yeah, the fight doesn't go the distance. I'm hoping for $1.80 or minus 125. Doesn't look like I'm going to get that, but yeah, I'm hoping. But yeah, that's what I'm going to bet. 11 of 12 of Herbert's fights have ended inside the distance, and Moicano's last 7 fights, 6 of them have ended inside the distance, so I'm expecting someone to get finished here. But yeah, so yeah, that's the prediction, and we'll have a look at the next fight.